Welcome to Mission 5, Lesson 27, where the objective today is to compare fractions greater than 1 by creating common numerators or denominators. All right, so this is a skill we've used before, and now we're just going to be using it again to compare fractions. Okay, so finding a common denominator or numerator. I think it's going to be best for this if we look at part of the Tower of Power together and work through it together. So that's what we're going to do. Let's take a look. All right. Here it's asking us to compare 1 3/7 and 1 2/5. So it's going to ask us, is the number of ones in each mixed number the same? So we're going to compare these two. So is the number of ones the same? Is the number of whole numbers the same? Yes, because they each have 1, right? So we can't just look at the whole number to help us compare them. Now what it wants to do, it says the number of ones is the same in each mixed number, so we can compare just the fractions. We're going to partition and shade each model to represent the fractions. And particularly in this one, when we're comparing, as opposed to the previous lesson, we're comparing 3/7 and 2/5. Well, in the previous lesson, we looked at, is it more or less than a half? Is it close to another whole? Is it just a little more than 0? See, the difference with today's is, and with when we're comparing fractions like these are, well, is 3/7 more or less than a half? Well, it's a little less than a half. Is 2/5 more or less than a half? Well, it's also a little less than a half. So these are too close to just be able to say, well, this is worth more than a half, this is worth less than a half. So I can just compare them that way. This is for when the instance where the fractions are just too close and we can't just decide by using the benchmarks. So we have to create common denominators. Okay, so first I'm going to make 3/7. Okay, so 7 total pieces. Shade in 3 of them. And then I'm going to make 2/5, so 5 total pieces. Shade 2 of them. Alrighty. Whoop. Now I have to divide each area model to create like units. So this is where we're creating like units or common denominators. So remember, we've done this in previous lessons. What do I look at? To create common denominators, I look at the opposite denominator of what I'm comparing it to and split it into that many rows. So if I'm comparing 3/7 sevenths here, and I'm comparing that to fifths, I need to split the sevenths into 5 rows because 5 was the opposite denominator. So I'm going to split it into 5 rows. So now I have 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the 2/5, but now my opposite denominator is the 7 or the sevenths. So I have to split the 2/5 into how many rows? 7 rows. So we're going to start splitting it. Okay, now I have 1, 2 rows. 1, 2, 3 rows. 4 rows. 5 rows. 6 rows. 7 rows, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And just a reminder, on Zern, when they have you compare, they have them going opposite directions when you're comparing to. Just so you can keep it straight a little more. Okay. So boom. Because now, if I split it like this, what we're going to see is I should have the same numerator, or excuse me, the same denominator. So how many total pieces? Well, I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to count just 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. So I have 35 total. Let's make sure I have 35 over here as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. So I also have 35ths here. Okay, so that's good because I want them to be the same. How many are shaded? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So 15 35ths. And here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I have 14 35ths. Excellent. Now I can compare them because, again, the 1 3/7 I converted to this right here. So 1 and 15/35, and the 1 2/5 I converted into 1 and 14/35. So which is greater, 15/35 or 14/35? Well, since now they have the same denominator, 35th, now I just look at the numerator. And so what's greater, 15 or 14? 15 is greater, so therefore I know that it is going to be the greater fraction. And therefore the 3/7, the 1 3/7 is greater because, again, the 3/7 was equal to the 15/35. Excellent. So when we're comparing today, remember you just have to split. When you're comparing those two fractions, you can find the common denominator if you split or multiply times that opposite denominator, right? So that's a skill we already had, and now we're just going to be doing it again to compare two fractions. All right. Now you still might be given an improper fraction that you have to convert into a mixed number, and then split it and compare, and you might have to do all those things. But we're just using the skills we already had. These are all skills we've already had, and now we're just advancing them and using them in different situations. Go get them.